Okay, I'm gonna try a new thing called a raw video. That I don't know if I can do this without editing, but I'm gonna try. I'm outside. You can hear the cicadas. I hope you can hear me. It's August 2nd, and I'm feeling pressure. This happens every August. Like, I know it's coming. It's like January 1st. I know it's coming, and I just feel this pressure about the year coming, like the school year. And I does everybody feel this? I'm looking at it like it's a second January, and I'm gonna have to deal with it, even though I know it's coming. I know it's here. So Adrienne, I just texted her with some of my complaints, or trying to talk about how this feels, and she says, I just read it. I'm on my way out the door. It's the first day of school for my kids. It's August 2nd. I feel pressure just knowing that some kids are starting school today. And for Adrienne, oh goodness. All right, so here's the question. Does this happen to you every August as school starts? Is this some, I don't know, cosmic pattern that's put in place for kids in the United States who knew that school was starting? I actually loved getting back to school in my childhood. I liked school, but man, as a homeschool mom, I feel pressure, and I only have one kid left home, and she is high school age, and I'm not going to go into all the details of how I feel pressure from that. Will I still feel this in another year or 2 or 3 when I don't have any kids left at home? I don't know. But I think there is some special energy about August. This think, I need to know what my daily routines are going to be. I need to set some things in place for the week. And I think it's a good thing. I think it's an energy that is meant to be good for us. So I'm just hoping that I can do this with more balance and calm, and not get to that place of pressure where I would do this year after year for a long time. Okay, I'm not doing enough. I've got to do more. And so I would set up these daily routines, these weekly routines, and then about 3 or 4 weeks into trying to maintain those routines, I would start to feel so much pressure. I would want to crash. I would feel exhausted. So I don't want to do that, but I think it's good to set some routines in balance without beating myself up. I don't know. Is this what happens to you? Okay, so this morning, I'm going to turn the camera that a friend just gave to me. It looks really good, and I've started to read it, and it has a lot of similar things to what we do with holding space practice. But so here I am, kind of in this, not really panicked, but kind of in this mode of, I'm gonna put too much pressure on myself. And I'm reading this chapter, and it's talking about like our nervous system. This is based in neuroscience, and stuff that we know from holding space practice is that we can put pressure on ourselves, and that creates certain feelings in our nervous system, which creates certain thoughts and feelings that create usually more problems. And in fact, it can create chronic physical pain. And that's what this book is about. Like people that feel chronic pain, and there's nothing really physically that they can find wrong. They run all kinds of tests, and they're still in pain. And so this book is about that, which is, it's so holding space practice. So I'm excited to read it. But this section that I was reading today, let's see, it talks about putting your nervous system in high alert, like you're in danger. And we can talk about that. I'm sure in other holding space practice stuff you've seen that. But it gave 3 behaviors that I thought were really good. I'm going to just read a little bit from this book that might be helpful. So the 3 things, like there can be real danger, but there are 3 things that we put our own nervous system into this state of hyper alert and like hyper looking around to see what danger there is. So the first one is worrying. Raise your hand if that is something that is something you do. And I love this. It quotes Winnie the Pooh. It says, Piglet asks, supposing a tree fell down, Pooh, when we were underneath it? And Pooh says, supposing it didn't. Okay, so can you see those 2 kind of nervous systems? The Piglet worry about everything, and the Pooh like, why should we worry? I thought that was good. So it gives the example of some thoughts that some might have, like, is my boss mad at me? Am I going to get enough sleep? Is there spinach in my teeth? You know, these are things that people worry about, and sometimes the worry creates its own monster. So holding space practice gives us some tools to try to learn how to stop that pattern, that thought process. Okay, here's the second one. It talks about putting pressure on yourself. And it says, when I point out to patients that they put a lot of pressure on themselves, they often respond, you're right, I have to stop doing that immediately. But not surprisingly, pressuring ourselves to stop pressuring ourselves isn't the best strategy. Okay, so I thought that was pretty good. Like, do we do that? Do we pressure? Like, I have to do this. And I think that's what's happening with my August thing. Like, I'm starting to feel like I need to put some pressure on myself. Like, things aren't good enough. Like, oh no, I haven't done enough for my children. And so I need to help them to discipline themselves more so that they will be able to be successful in their life. And if I don't, then, okay, I start going down this track of worrying again. Oh no, they're not going to be able to get into a college or whatever, or they're not going to have a good job, and then they're not going to be able to support themselves. You know, I go down this track of crazy thinking. No, those things aren't happening. They probably won't happen, but I'm sure getting myself worked up about the possibility that it might. Okay, so the first one was worrying. The second one, putting pressure on ourselves. The third one they mention is self-criticism. This one was really interesting to me. It talks about Claude Monet. Now, I love Monet Impressionist paintings. I think they're beautiful. And he lived a long time ago, long before I was alive. But I was really interested in reading this. It says Monet was intensely self-critical. Such beautiful paintings. He was intensely self-critical. Here are some statements that he made about himself. I'm not a great painter. I'm making stupid mistakes. What I'm doing is just dreadful. My life has been nothing but a failure, and all that's left for me to do is to destroy my paintings before I disappear. What? Really? I can't, like, really? That's how he felt about himself? So I personally have had to work on those kinds of thoughts, and I have trained my brain to hear a different thought process. Like, this happened the other morning. I just got into a quiet space and I heard a voice say, you're doing a great job. Look at this person that you helped, and that person, and this other person, and this other thing. All that was yesterday. Look at you. You're doing a great job. And my nervous system went, oh, yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I'm so grateful that I had opportunities to help people. All right. So I hope this video doesn't just make you feel like, yeah, pressure, what, I'm so worried, and I don't think I'm doing a good enough job. And I hope that that's not the feeling that this leaves you with. But let's take just a minute before we close and just take a big breath in. and let that out. And when I do that right now, I feel like some tears coming up, and that is the pressure that I have put on myself this morning. We're going to do it again. Take a deep breath in and out. Okay, so I could sit here and have a few tears roll down my cheek, possibly, but I just feel them kind of deep inside there. But I know that that's just a release. And if I just take a minute after thinking about all of these thoughts, and I'm going to go do some yoga to empty those thoughts out so they don't get stuck in my nervous system and start to affect the rest of my day and other decisions that I make. So when we have these times, one tool is to just take that deep breath and say, okay, those are thoughts. Now, let me sit down with myself, and maybe I now need to go work. Maybe I now need to interact with my toddlers. Maybe I need to do something else. But we can start, instead of keeping those ideas and those thoughts going and going and going in the mind, we can start to just take that breath, release some of that energy from the nervous system, teach our nervous system that there is a way to stay calm no matter what. Then maybe when I sit down with my calendar and start planning some daily routines and some weekly things that I want to accomplish, some goals, maybe I take some breaths while I do that, and I will be able to do it with more balance.